Charles Neilans DeGlopper November 30, 1921 June 9, 1944 was a soldier of the United States Army who posthumously received the Medal of Honor, the highest award of the U.S. military, for his heroic actions and sacrifice of life during the early stages of the Battle of Normandy in World War II. DeGlopper was born on November 30, 1921, to Mary Neilans DeGlopper and Charles Leonard DeGlopper. His family home was located at 2176, Fix Road, Grand Island, New York, and he attended School 5 on Baseline and Bush Roads in Grand Island. In June 1941, he graduated from Tonawanda High School before entering the Army in November 1942. After training at Camp Croft, South Carolina, he was sent overseas in April 1943 and served in the 82nd Airborne Division in North Africa, Sicily, elsewhere in Italy, and France. Medal of Honor action edit in the late evening of June 6, 1944, the 82nd Airborne's glider troops began to arrive in France staged from Aldermaston Airfield, each involving hundreds of CG-4 Waco and Airspeed Horsa gliders and managed in codenamed phases denoted Mission Keokuk, Mission Elmira, and the final two glider landings were scheduled for June 7, 1944 during the morning hours in Missions Galveston and Hackensack, which brought in the 325th Glider Infantry Regiment 325th GR. Mission Galveston arrived in two serials of 50 gliders each, and while the first had something of a disastrous landing, the second fared slightly better, but less than 50 of their equipment was recoverable. Mission Hackensack, the last to arrive, brought in the remaining 1,300 glider men of the 325th GIR and their equipment. Also arriving in two serials, the gliders began landing on the 7th at 0900 in broad daylight. Despite the apparent destruction on the ground, the operation was a great success with most of the troops and nearly all of their equipment getting delivered to the battlefield. Nearly 90 of the 325th GIR's men were assembled within a few hours of landing and moved towards Chef DuPont. Leading his troops, Regimental Commander Colonel Harry Lewis was ordered to make a crossing of the Le Murderette River and help attack La Fire Bridge from the opposite side. Seeing a small fording area across the river, Colonel Lewis sent his 1st Battalion to wade across under cover of darkness. Their objective was to attack the force defending the bridge. Themselves under attack, C Company 1st Battalion was cut off from the rest of the battalion, and despite himself coming under increased fire, Private 1st Class Charles DeGlopper stood up and began to fire his Browning automatic rifle at the attacking Germans in an attempt to suppress their fire and relieve the battalion. Although wounded, PFC DeGlopper continued to stand and fire, and when hit yet again, still fired although kneeling and bleeding profusely. Meanwhile, as the Germans were distracted and occupied with PFC DeGlopper's automatic fire, the remainder of C Company was able to break off and head for La Fire to join the rest of their battalion. For his self-sacrificial actions, Private 1st Class Charles DeGlopper posthumously received the Medal of Honor on February 28, 1946, the only member of the 82nd Airborne Division so honored in Normandy. Rank and Organization: Private 1st Class, U.S. Army, Company C, 325th Glider Infantry, 82d Airborne Division. Place and date: Murderette River at La Fire, France, June 9, 1944. Entered service at Grand Island, NY. Birth: Grand Island, NYGO. Number 22 February 28, 1946.